We're going to go now to South Dakota, and we'll talk with Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Andrew. Good to talk to you.
Yes.
Um, Listen, I have just a question about Genesis. I think it's 127, where it talks about, being made in man being made in the image of God, or actually, I guess that infers to the Trinity in that particular verse, if I'm not mistaken. But
hmm
my question is in chapter 5, I think it's verse 3. I don't have, hopefully I don't have my numbers crossed, but it talks about Adam's son Seth being made in his image. And then in Romans, we're told that we're being conformed to the image of Christ. So that sounds like kind of an ongoing process. So I'm trying to see if you could expand on that a little bit.
Absolutely. What a great question, Jeff. Appreciate your call today. You know, there's a lot we could say here, but I think you've already hit the nail on the head. There's many that misspeak, and they quote Genesis 1:26, and they say that we are all, the whole planet is currently, every human is in the image of God. And that's not entirely accurate, at least spiritually speaking. Sure, God created us with arms and legs and a head and human form and said that it was good, that it was a perfect creation, and God celebrated that physicality. But the original design that Adam and Eve enjoyed is not exactly the same as what we are born with today. And I think that's the crucial point that you're getting to here. Genesis chapter 1:26, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Now, after that, we see the fall. We see Adam and Eve decide to go rogue. They go independent. They decide they're going to do things differently. They decide that they are going to go their own route, draw a circle around themselves, and declare themselves to be Lord of that ring. And so when they do so, they die spiritually, and then they had children. Did you notice they had children after they died? After they died spiritually. So that's what brings us to Genesis 5, verse 3, and it says, when Adam had lived 130 years, he became the father of a son in his own likeness, according to his image, and named him Seth. Now, Seth still had had two arms. Seth had two legs. Seth had a head. He was a physical human being. But spiritually, Seth was different than the way that Adam was created. And that's one of the points being made here. Although Seth had daddy's nose and daddy's eyes and those sort of physical features, Seth did not carry with him the spiritual features of the created Adam. No, Adam fell spiritually and then had children, and he passed down spiritual death upon Seth. And so that's why we cannot say today that spiritually we are all in the image of God. No, we are born in Adam, and that's why we need to be born again in Christ. We are born in the flesh, and we need to be reborn in the Spirit. We are born as children of wrath, and we need to be reborn as children of God. So that's what's going on here. The spiritual death of Adam and Eve had a tremendous impact on the spiritual DNA, if you will, of their children, including Seth, who's mentioned here in Genesis 5. Now, lastly, the missing piece, you mentioned Romans 8:29, we're being conformed to the image of Christ. Well, that's talking about our thinking, our mind renewal, our growth, our learning as Christians. So, it's a little bit different because as a Christian, as a believer in Christ, you have that new heart. God has given you a new heart. He took out your heart of stone. He gave you a new heart. He made you the new self. Your old self died. So you are the new self, but your mind is being renewed and your thinking is being conformed, right? Don't be conformed to this world, Romans 12, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that is what's going on here, my friend. And those are my thoughts on this. You know, every child of God who's born again is now in Christ and recreated in Christ for good works. So we've had a nature change, a heart change. We don't need our heart fixed. It's already been done. We don't need our nature fixed. It's already been done. But what is in process is we're learning, we're growing, we're getting our minds renewed, we're getting our attitudes conformed to Christ's attitudes. So I hope that helps and brings some insight for you, my friend. Great to hear from you. We would love to hear from you again. A fabulous question.